All right, man. We're gonna go at it, man. I'm looking for the music. Bring out, man. Let's bring out the guitar player, shall we? Hey, welcome to the Teal Shirt. Where's my microphone? Welcome to the Teal Shirt Report podcast, man. We're off to a flying start. This is episode show number 50. Didn't Telvin Smith wear 50 for the Jaguars? Turned out to be a good football player. He was drafted in the 5th round. Played on the Jags team, which made it to the AFC Championship game in January of 2018. Telvin Smith has had, personal problems, legal problems, and I think that's all we'll say about Telvin Smith. He did wear 50, part of Jaguars football history. I got the some, not all of them, but some of the college football scores up on the YouTube channel. Florida beat Long Island 55-0. Man, what happened to Bama? Florida State 31, Alabama 17. I do want to comment on that. Of course, we mainly talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, North Florida Entertainment, the SEC. Florida State from the ACC beat Alabama from the SEC. And I'm not a diehard Alabama fan, as most of you know, but, our executive producer, JC, is. In his, Alabama football in his heart, like Florida Gator football is in my heart, and Georgia Bulldog football is in Mad Max's heart. Mad Max, who does the Mad Max Mix, godwiggly.com each Wednesday night. This is Teal Tuesday, by the way, about 2 minutes in. So I got the scores up on YouTube. If you happen to be listening to this on the audio platform, well, we'll still mention them. Florida 55, the Long Island. I think they used to be called the Blackbirds back in the day. And I think they actually, I was trying to read some stuff up on Long Island. I was joking and told Max, man, I think that was a junior college. But I think they used to be Long Island University. Now they're officially LIA and JCS. They are from New York. I think most of their campuses, I think they might have more than one campus. They're up around Brooklyn and then another little city up in New York, but they're around Brooklyn, New York. They're called Long Island, LIA, the Sharks. And I think at one time the school may have been known as the Blackbirds, because I remember JU basketball. I think they played the Long Island Blackbirds, like in an NIT tournament one year, years and years ago. So yes, JC, I think JC thought they were from Florida because they were called the Sharks. But there's bodies of water up in New York too. Just ask New York Joe, a good friend of ours. Okay, so Florida beat Long Island 55-0. Long Island might be one of those schools that they need money for the athletic budget, and they may be playing other teams from the SEC, I'm sure, as time goes on. Florida 55, Long Island nothing, FSU 31, Alabama 17. I asked an Alabama fan, we won't out him here, other than I won't give his real name, but AKA Ketchup. I asked him, he's in our fantasy football league, by the way. I'll out him at least to our fantasy football players. I asked Ketchup, I said, man, what happened with Alabama? He uttered 2 words. We suck. That's what Ketchup said. FSU 31, Alabama 17. Now, I'm going to say this, and I've always said this about the coach at FSU, Mike Norvell. Let me take a sip of coffee while we chew on this. Thank you, coffee boy. Got some good coffee this morning. Strong, like I like it. Strong, fresh, and creamy. I insist and always have insisted that Mike Norvell's a good coach. He had to clean up Jimbo did the limbo probably the last year at Florida State. Taggart came in and he was a disaster. I think Taggart's main problem was, now he could recruit some, and that's what everybody thought, well, he could recruit. Well, he didn't prepare his teams very well. He got fired at Florida State, got eventually fired at FAU. I think when he played in college, I believe he played for John Harbaugh, the father of Jim Harbaugh and Jack Harbaugh. And now, all of a sudden, the Harbaughs have taken him in. He's like the running back coach, I believe, with the Ravens now. But not a successful college football coach. He had a losing record in the mid-majors, the majors, it didn't matter. Mike Norvell, on the other hand, cleaned up the mess gradually, ever so gradually, got the team playing better and better. And by 2023, they were in the top 10 at Florida State. 2024, going into 2024, Florida State, talking about them, and I know a lot of the Alabama fans don't want to hear this, but they lost a lot of players to the NFL, injuries, transfers, and the wheels fell off Florida State in 2024. And I'm not making excuses for them. I'm not even a Florida State fan. I do like Coach Mike Norvell. He's regrouped. And what makes me tell you that he's a good coach is he spent all offseason preparing for this Alabama game. This is like a Super Bowl for FSU. Maybe not so much for Alabama as it showed on the scoreboard. But FSU prepared. They hung in there. You don't let teams hang around in Division I college football. The first notice of the scoreboard I saw, Florida State was winning 24-17. Then they added another touchdown. It's a 14-point win for the Seminoles over Alabama. Alabama was actually a 14-point favorite going into this game in tally. So FSU 31, Alabama 17, Georgia 45, Marshall 7, Auburn. Auburn, I found the Auburn score, and, Hugh Freeze, I think his prominence in the SEC and at Auburn, he used to coach at Ole Miss, right? But I think his prominence at Auburn has been delayed somewhat. And nowadays, they don't wait 4 years for a coach to turn things around. But this is his fourth year. And Auburn beat Baylor, a pretty good Baylor team, I'm told. Auburn 38, Baylor 24. Georgia Tech is a team you got to keep an eye on in the ACC because Georgia Tech got a lot of players coming back, and they had a pretty decent team last year, and they could be even better this year. Georgia Tech 27, Colorado 20, final on a Friday night, August 29th, game of 2025. Keep an eye on Georgia Tech. They're off to a 1-0 start. Arch Manning, man, I don't want to say he stunk up the place, but they scored 7 points the entire game against Ohio State. Now, that's a tough place. They played at Ohio State. Ohio State didn't score many more points than Texas. It was a battle, epic. I think somebody told me it was overhyped. Ohio State 14, Texas 7. Now, as far as talking about, and I love college football, I'm not a fan of the NIL. The immediate transfer portal is a new thing, and not everybody likes it. I think Coach Nick Saban, who retired at Alabama, doesn't like it either. I don't think Dabo Swinney at Clemson liked it. There's other coaches that might not say they don't like it, but there's some that might not admit they don't like it. But college football has changed. It is a pure business, and we know that. ESPN, the four-letter network, basically owns it, in my opinion. So I'm going to take a quick stab at college football. We talked about the teams we thought that might be in the top 5 of the SEC. And some of that may be changing a little bit now, but the 5 teams that we talked about still have a shot at being the top 5 at the end. Georgia beat Marshall by a huge score. Georgia's 1-0. I think they're the top team in the SEC right now. LSU's probably number 2. At 1-0, they beat Clemson by 7 points. It looks like LSU's defense may be for real. We don't know how good Florida is. Florida beat a team, the Long Island Blackbirds. I think they're now known as the Long Island Sharks. I don't think they were ever known as the Blackbirds playing football, but they were known as the Blackbirds when they played basketball. They still play basketball in most all the sports up around Long Island, Brooklyn area for the most part. Florida 55, Long Island nothing. When you're a Gator fan, it's always great to talk about a win. Now, if you talk about James Carvell, the Democratic strategist, and I'm usually nonpartisan in these cases, but I'll tell you, James Carvell was a subject, well, he was the LSU fan. They had a documentary on SEC teams. This was before Texas and Oklahoma. Kind of crazy. It was kind of crazy that they joined the SEC, but they're in Texas and Oklahoma. I don't know much about Oklahoma, but we'll learn more about them as the season goes on. They could be a dark horse along with Texas A&M, teams like that. But I primarily want to zone in on 7 SEC teams. Georgia's 1-0. I got them at the top. LSU 1-0. Florida 1-0. Florida's got South Florida coming up, and then they play LSU. We're going to know about Florida very, very quickly when they play LSU. Is the Florida defense still on an upward climb? I will tell you this. I think DJ Lagway's got some 4-star, 5-star wide receivers at Florida. And I think Billy Napier now has a much better roster at Florida now than when he started, 3 or 4 years ago as the head coach at the University of Florida. Florida's got a chance to have a good team, but they got to win the close games, right? You look at this scoreboard I'm looking at, there weren't a lot of close games. Ohio State 14, Texas 7 was close. Georgia Tech 27, Colorado 20. Auburn a convincing 38-24 win over a pretty good Baylor team. I think you got to throw Auburn in the top 5, at least for the moment. I got Georgia 1-0, LSU 1-0, Florida 1-0, Auburn 1-0. South Carolina even beat Virginia Tech. South Carolina 24, Virginia Tech 11. I think South Carolina is number 5 in the conference now at 1-0. And then we're going to isolate on these teams that lost. Texas is 0-1. Alabama is 0-1. We mentioned some other teams, but those are the main 7. Georgia, LSU, Florida, Auburn, and South Carolina all off to a good 1-0 start. Well, meanwhile, Texas and Alabama, we're still going to keep them around at 6 and 7, and they probably will be in the top 5 at the end. But Texas is 0-1, Alabama 0-1. Rain still in our forecast in North Florida, about a 50% chance of rain, partly cloudy to mostly cloudy until Tuesday with a 50% chance of rain, high 87. Hey, I'm finally hearing about a low, maybe under 70, around 69. Breezy throughout North Florida and surrounding areas. A lot of the rain is going to be, more prevalent at the coastline, I understand. High 87, low 69. 50% chance of rain today, probably about 40% tomorrow on Wednesday. Winds northeast at about 7 to 21 miles per hour. Jumbo Shrimp playing good baseball. The Shrimp are like 77-54. They beat Rochester 6-5 on Sunday, August the 31st to wrap up the month of August. They got a day off on Monday, and now they're traveling up to a great ballpark. Have you ever seen the Charlotte AAA ballpark where the Charlotte Knights play? The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp 77-54, 23 games over 500. They're traveling to Charlotte and will play at the Charlotte Knights tonight. Charlotte, meanwhile, is 59-72 and not winning as many games as the Jumbo Shrimp this year in AAA baseball. Man, I had that music on that long. I got to send the guitar player down the road to pick up a coffee or something. Okay, so now we clear out the music. Florida 55, Long Island nothing. FSU 31, Alabama 17. Alabama. And again, I asked Ketchup, what happened to Alabama? 2 words. He said, we suck. Georgia 45, Marshall 7, the final. Auburn 38, Baylor 24. I just searched for the Auburn score. I won't joke or lie. I just searched for the Auburn score, but they won. Auburn 38, Baylor 24. Georgia Tech on Friday, a Friday night game. Georgia Tech 27, Colorado 20. A final on Friday night, August 29th of 2025. And Ohio State, do they call that the horseshoe up at Ohio State where the band dots the I? Ohio State 14, Texas 7. And did they say Lee Corso, that was his final prediction? He picked Ohio State to win, put the Buckeye hat on. What did they think he was going to do? Ohio State 14, Texas 7. South Carolina 24, Virginia Tech 11. And yeah, Miami, Florida, the Hurricanes 27, Notre Dame 24. The ACC, and I don't talk about them much, but you got some teams in there like Miami of Florida, maybe Florida State, maybe. Georgia Tech and Clemson, those could be the big four. Of course, you got some teams to the north of them. I don't know how Syracuse would be, but probably maybe not as good as these four that I just mentioned. So we talked a little ACC football, a little SEC football. Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp at the Charlotte Knights tonight. The Jumbo Shrimp are 77-54. And if the Marlins don't take all their players, but they probably will take some of them, because the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp are a AAA baseball team. They got a shot, maybe, to do something, make some noise in the AAA baseball playoffs late this month in September. It is September the 2nd. Woo! Talking about the Jaguars. They traded for a wide receiver. You know, they picked up a wide receiver, and then they cut Trammell, I believe, the fifth wide receiver. And that was a change to the 53-man. The 53-man roster is going to change, especially the bottom of the roster. We're talking about a fifth wide receiver that the Jaguars let go. He may end up on the practice squad. In fact, well, I did have, I do have some stuff on the practice squad. I had it up yesterday. We'll try to look at the practice squad also. The Jaguars have named their practice squad, and heck, we'll take a look at that. I think I've actually got that up in one area where I can actually find it fairly quickly. Ed White football. Ed White Commanders won their first game at Trinity Christian Academy against the Conquerors. Ed White, unofficially 2-0, but 1-0 in real games. Man, I tell you what, I had some chili dogs on Saturday, and they were pretty good. When I was watching Ohio State beat Texas, Arch Manning struggled. You know, I know I texted Mad Max from the madmaxmix.weebly.com. You can hear Mad Max every Wednesday night, 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock. Central Time, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Check out Mad Max's show at madmaxmix.weebly.com. We got the links up on the Neighbors 2 section of our website at bigjreport.com. Also, JC's Live from the Pub Show is on Thursday nights. We got links for JC's show on Thursday night. And Mad Max's show on Wednesday night. We got links in the Neighbors 2 section. There's even an article about Mad Max's show if you scroll the outside the box section. Now, I've got the practice squad here, but this guy Billy that posts the stuff up in our Facebook group. Sometimes he has some small print stuff, and here we go again. Okay, the practice squad for the Jaguars as of August 29th. And again, the practice squad will change. There'll be other teams wanting to poach the practice squad. There'll be players called up from the practice squad. I'm assuming that when they practice, they might turn an ankle, and I don't know how injuries will affect this. But they got Chandler Brayboy, a wide receiver. Jerome Carbon is on the practice squad. Branson Combs, he's a linebacker, I believe, defensive line. Matt Dickerson. And if you're a defensive lineman with the Jaguars on the practice squad, be ready. Matt Dickerson. Wide receiver Eric Ezra-Ramna. Is that his name? Eric Ezra-Ramna? Ezra-Ramna, I believe. He's a wide receiver. Seth Hennigan. Seth Hennigan's a quarterback. So they got a quarterback on the practice squad. The Jaguars really only have two guys on the active roster, Trevor Lawrence and Nick Mullins. And then they've got Seth Hennigan, who is a quarterback. He's on the practice squad. Patrick Herbert, the quarterback with the Chargers, I believe this is his brother, I believe. Patrick Herbert is a tight end, and he's on the practice squad. Jay Quinder Jackson, is that his name? Jay Quindon Jackson, I believe, is a running back. O-line, Ricky Lee. Mr. Lovely is a cornerback. Is that Kenish Lovely? Man, this is tough to read. Cornerback, Lovely. Tight end, Quentin Morris. As I'm squinting here, defensive back, Jabbar Muhammad. Brother Muhammad is the defensive back. You got Kiwi Rose, defensive line. Cameron Silman Craig, I believe it is a defensive back. Dorian Singer, wide receiver. And another defensive lineman, Sal Wormley. And I hope I pronounced the names right, but if I didn't, I apologize. That's the Jaguars practice squad. So it's a 53 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And JC, do you want me to take the college football scores down? I didn't put them all up, but they've been up there for a while. And we might actually need to pull those down. We'll do that now. You know, we're 21 minutes in. So I'll pull the college football scores down. We talked about college football, the SEC, the ACC. Jumbo Shrimp having a great year. Now they're playing up in Charlotte. That's a great ballpark. Jumbo Shrimp will play at the Charlotte Knights tonight. Good luck to the Jumbo Shrimp. At this stanza, September 2nd of 2025, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp are now 77 and 54. For music concerts, go to bigjreport.com. Scroll the Neighbors 2 section. You know, Peter Frampton is coming to our area. He'll be in St. Augustine. I believe it's October 29th. But check the and Leonard Skinner, the guys that they still have in the Leonard Skinner group, including Ronnie's younger brother, Johnny. They're going to be next to the stadium at Daly's Place, I believe, in November. And we'll try to hammer that date down and get it up on the website as well. Mickey Dolenz in December at the Florida Theater for Songs and Stories. The last surviving member of the Monkees, made for TV. And basically they were a band and they toured, and that's an interesting story. The Monkees, Mad Max knows that story well. Don Kirshner, as I understand it, had a very, had a very big impact on creating the Monkees. If you remember Don Kirshner's rock concerts, and I think he helped create the Monkees, the made-for-TV show. Back in the 60s. I don't remember when it first started. I was too young, but when it went to Saturday morning in between the cartoons, I started watching, like probably early to mid 70s, somewhere in there when I was a young kid. So we're going to talk about the Jaguars' first game is coming up this Sunday, September the 7th. Last I checked, Carolina's Jacksonville's a 3-point favorite at home. That's home field advantage. Basically, I guess the prognosticators, Vegas, they're saying the teams are equal, but the Jaguars are at home, so they're going to give them a 3-point edge. Should we take a look at the line now? There's nothing wrong with taking a look at the line now. It is this Sunday. It was several days ago when we did take a look at the line. Boy, I butchered the practice squad, didn't I? I guess I was practicing on the practice squad there. September the 7th, that'll be this Sunday. This is a home game, by the way, at Everbank Stadium. If you didn't know it was home, it is a home game. It is critical to get off to a good start when you're coming off last year of 4-13. So let's pull it up. See if there's been any changes. I mean, our source really likes the Jaguars to win this game and cover a few days ago. Let's see if there's been any changes on the line. There has been. The Jacksonville Jaguars The 3 points they were favored by, they're now favored by 3.5 points. Did you like our slant on college football today? We'll cover it. I have not put the complete BigJReport.com power rankings together, but we talked about 7 teams from the SEC, and my gosh, that's less than half of them now because there's 16 teams in the league. Oklahoma, we didn't talk much about them, but who knows? Oklahoma might be a dark horse. Texas A&M. Vanderbilt is not rock bottom. I believe Mississippi State is rock bottom. They missed their coach that passed away 2 or 3 years ago, Mike Leach. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now a 3.5-point favorite. They were a 3-point favorite. Now they're a 3.5-point favorite. So some money is going on Jacksonville. Let's take a look. The game is a kickoff at 1 o'clock this Sunday, September the 7th of 2025 at 1 o'clock p.m. at Everbank Stadium. I've watched some film on the offensive line. Patrick McCary is well thought of by the general manager, James Gladstone. Well, he signed him as a free agent from Baltimore. McCary did show his durability. He played in all 17 games, but he was slotted playing in different spots. Now with the Jaguars, it looks like he's going to kind of move into that groove of being the every play right guard. You got Haynes, he's going to play center, the guy from Tampa Bay. The Jaguars picked up as a free agent. Left guard to be Ezra Cleveland, who's been on this team for, I think, about 3 years now. Left tackle is going to be Walker Little. Right tackle is going to be a late first-round pick from almost 3 years ago in Anton Harrison. And let's hope Anton Harrison and Walker Little can stay healthy. The guys in between the tackles, the guards in the center, Ezra Cleveland, Hainsey at center, the guy the Jaguars son is a free agent from Tampa Bay. Critical players, and Patrick McCary could be the best of those three playing right guard. We'll see. Jaguars a 3.5-point favorite. Our source likes Jacksonville to win, cover the spread, and the total will go under. The total is 46 points. So critical for the Jaguars in the season. I personally feel like, this is what I personally feel, the O-line is critical. I think this O-line, if they stay healthy, let's say all 5 of these guys stay healthy the next 5, 6, 7 weeks, they'll get better with every week because cohesiveness is very critical with an offensive line. And what hurts NFL teams, why a lot of them have trouble putting offensive lines together, changes occur all the time now. Hey, we're signing this guy, we're dropping this guy, we're trading this guy, we're picking up another guy, we're drafting a guy. The Jaguars, looking at this group, to my knowledge, there was, I believe, only one guy that was a first rounder. He was a late first rounder, Anton Harrison. This group's got to get good quick. Trevor Lawrence has got to protect the football. Over on the other side of the ball, the defensive line, that is critical. I love the effort of at least 2 of our linebackers, and I love the effort of probably 90% of our defensive backs. If the defensive line can look themselves in the mirror and say, hey, we're going to just put it all out, give more effort, create more havoc and tackles and even sacks, pressures, if the D-line can perform better and improve, it's going to make the linebackers and the defensive backs, safeties, cornerbacks that much better, I believe. I really do. Check out BigJReport.com. Follow us. Our sponsors are Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida. There's links for Saucer Realty and Capital on our homepage near the 24/7 North Florida weather reports. We're also brought to you by the MadMaxMix.weebly.com. Check Mad Max out this Wednesday night. Man, a great show with Mad Max, and JC Show live from the pub is fantastic as well on Thursday nights at LakeUpallahits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. Our executive producer is JC. Also want to thank Alex Nunnery. You can catch Alex. He's doing some high school videos on our same channel. Like Alex's videos, comment on this one, and subscribe to our channel. Please do. Special thanks to our executive producer, JC. Fantasy football has started. JC, are you happy with your roster? Come on, let me know. Let me know in the comments, how did your fantasy football roster come out, JC? I did grab the Buffalo Bills quarterback, Josh Allen, for the second year in a row in the Teal Shirt Report Podcast Football League. JC, I'm open for trade talks in our fantasy football league, but I got to have something for Josh Allen. I'm something good, or I'm keeping him because I was in the championship game, but I lost to Gaylor last year. John Gaylor, and myself made the championship game in the Teal Shirt Report Fantasy Football League. We got 10 teams in there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll mention what's going on with the Fantasy Football League, the Teal Shirt Fantasy Football League. We'll mention that as well in coming podcast. Obviously, week 1 is coming up. The Jaguars this Sunday, September the 7th, will host the Carolina Panthers at Everbank Stadium. We just found out. Update, Jacksonville Jaguars now a 3.5-point favorite. Our source likes the Jaguars to win the game and cover. And the total, what was it, 46? They like the under. They like the under in that game. Is it going to be a gut-wrenching, agonizing first game? It could be. Quite frankly, it could be. Brian Thomas Jr., how many touchdowns is he going to get? Especially if you're playing fantasy football and you got Brian Thomas Jr. on your team. Travis Hunter, the Jaguars, they gave up some draft picks, multiple draft picks to go get Hunt as general manager James Gladstone of the Gladstone said, we were hunting up Travis Hunter. He'll play wide receiver the majority of the time, probably the number 2 Jags wide receiver, Brian Thomas Jr., the number 1 guy. And my prediction is he'll play some cornerback in red zone situations when the other team has the ball, maybe inside the Jags 20, where he can stop a pass, intercept a pass, cover a guy. Let me tell you, Travis Hunter can jump 2 feet in the air. I've seen the still shots. I've seen the videos. He's got some talent. How much? Maybe we don't quite know the answer at the NFL level yet, but we're going to start finding out. First game will be this Sunday, September the 7th. The Jacksonville Jaguars open the 2025 NFL season at home and hosting the Carolina Panthers this Sunday. Kickoff at 1 o'clock at Everbank Stadium. And man, football season is here. We talked ad nauseum about college football, the SEC, and we appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. You guys have a great day. Special thanks to our sponsors, Saucerility and Capital, the Mad Max Mix.weebly.com. Lakey Paula hits JC live from the pub on Thursday nights. Mad Max and the Mad Max Mix.weebly.com on Wednesday nights. Special thanks to our executive producer, JC, also Alex Nunnery, John Gaylor, our correspondent and a contributor. Thank you guys very much for watching show number 50 of the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Football season is absolutely here. Duval.